when worlds collideth crash had torn through the canopy like thunder, sending birds with crystalline wings scattering into the violet sky. Marcus pulled himself from the wreckage of his scout ship, feeling the alien gravity pull at his bones, in ways that made his muscles ache. The trees around him pulsed with bioluminescent veins, casting an otherworldly glow across the forest floor. He had been 3 days into reconnaissance when the engine failure struck, leaving him stranded on Zarian with nothing but emergency supplies and a broken communications array. Blood trickled down his forehead as he surveyed the crash site. The ship was beyond repair, its hull split open like a broken egg. He gathered what salvageable equipment he could carry, knowing that rescue might be days or weeks away. The war between Earth and the Valeri Confederation had made these outer sectors dangerous territory for any human caught alone. The sound reached him as he was checking his water reserves, a lot of keening that seemed to vibrate through the trees themselves. It was hauntingly beautiful, unlike any human sound he had ever heard. Curiosity overrode caution as he followed the sound deeper into the alien forest, his boots crunching on fallen leaves that shimmered like metal foil. He found her in a clearing, where the strange trees formed a natural circle. She was unlike anything in the briefing materials, tall and elegant, with skin that seemed to absorb and reflect light in equal measure. Her form was humanoid, but distinctly alien, with elongated limbs and features that held an otherworldly beauty. What struck him most were her eyes, large and luminous, filled with intelligence and something that looked like pain. She was injured. A deep gash across her shoulder, bleeding a fluid that glowed faintly blue in the dim light. Her breathing was labored, and when she noticed him approaching, she did not flee or reach for the weapon at her side. Instead, she watched him with curiosity that mirrored his own. Marcus raised his hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. "I'm not here to fight," he said softly, though he knew she likely could not understand his words. Something in his tone must have conveyed his intent, because she tilted her head slightly. Studying him with those remarkable eyes, he approached carefully, pulling his medical kit from his pack. When he knelt beside her, she allowed him to examine the wound, her gaze never leaving his face as he worked to clean and seal the injury with human medical supplies. The mark of protectionist Marcus finished tending to her wound. The alien woman reached out with her uninjured arm and placed her palm against his chest. Her touch sent a warm sensation spreading through him, like electricity, but gentler, more alive. Her eyes closed in concentration, and he felt something change within him, as if she had awakened dormant pathways in his nervous system. When she opened her eyes again, they held a new intensity. She pressed her forehead briefly against his. He felt a strange, tingling sensation, as if invisible threads were connecting them. She spoke then, her voice melodic and complex, and though he could not understand the words, he sensed their importance. "Zara," she said, touching her chest, then placing her hand over his heart again. "Marcus," he replied, understanding that they were exchanging names. The sound of his name in her voice was like music, each syllable carefully shaped by a tongue not made for human speech. Over the following hours, as they moved together through the alien forest, Marcus began to notice changes in their environment. Other creatures that had initially approached with curiosity now kept their distance. When they encountered a pack of predators with silver fur and too many teeth, the animals took one look at Marcus and retreated into the undergrowth, whimpering softly. Zara seemed unsurprised by this behavior. When they stopped to rest near a stream that ran with water the color of liquid amber, she tried to explain through gestures and broken attempts at his language. She pointed to herself, then to him, then made a circular motion with her hands that seemed to encompass both of them. "Bonded," she finally managed in heavily accented English. The word clearly learned from intercepted human communications, you, ... mine, others, ... no. The implications of her words slowly dawned on him. Somehow, her touch had marked him in a way that other aliens could sense. He was under her protection now, claimed according to laws he did not understand by a people he had been trained to fight. But as he looked at her, watching the way starlight caught in her hair, and how her movements held a grace that seemed to flow like water, he found he did not mind. There was something about her presence that calmed the constant alertness that had kept him alive during the war. For the first time in months, he felt safe. They made camp that night in a grove where the trees formed a natural shelter, their bioluminescent veins providing gentle light. As Zara settled beside him, careful of her injured shoulder, Marcus realized that everything he thought he knew about the enemy had been wrong. The storm that swept across Zarian that night was unlike anything from Earth. Lightning crackled in colors that had no names, and the rain fell upward as often as down, defying gravity in ways that made Marcus dizzy. They had taken shelter in ruins that Zara led him to ancient structures that seemed to predate both human and Valeri presence on the planet. Inside the crumbling walls, strange symbols glowed faintly on the stone surfaces, pulsing in rhythm with Zara's heartbeat. She settled against a wall where moss had grown in intricate patterns, and Marcus sat beside her, close enough to share warmth in the sudden chill that the storm had brought. These places, Zara said, her English improving as they spoke, very old. Before my people, before yours? She traced one of the glowing symbols with her finger. They watch. They remember. Marcus studied the symbols, noting how they seemed to shift and change when he was not looking directly at them. Who built them? The first ones, she replied. Mysteriously, they understood things we have forgotten. As the storm raged outside, they shared food from Marcus's supplies and water from Zara's own containers. She showed him how to eat the alien fruits that grew wild in the forest, their flavors complex and surprisingly satisfying. In return, he shared his emergency rations, watching with amusement as she puzzled over the taste of processed human food. Hey. Did you help me? She asked, as they sat in the gentle glow of the ruins. Your people and mine, we fight. You could have left me to die? Marcus considered the question, watching how the strange light played across her features. Because it was right, he said finally. War or no war, you were hurt and alone.
Ow.
That matters more than politics. She was quiet for a long moment, then reached out to touch his hand. Her fingers were longer than his, more delicate, but her grip was firm. My people would not understand this thinking, but I find it beautiful. The storm outside grew more intense, and they moved closer together for warmth. Marcus became aware of her scent, something like flowers and rain and ozone all mixed. Together, when she leaned against his shoulder, he felt his heart rate increase, not from fear but from something else entirely. Among my people, she said softly, when we choose a mate, it is forever. The bonding I gave you? It means something sacred. Marcus felt his breath catch. What exactly does it mean? It means, she said, turning to look directly into his eyes, that I have chosen you. And now others of my kind will know that to harm you is to challenge me directly. The implications sent a shiver through him that had nothing to do with the cold. The challenge of Heartsthy were discovered at dawn by a hunting party of Zara's people. Marcus woke to find himself surrounded by tall, elegant figures whose eyes held none of Zara's warmth. Their leader, a warrior named Keth, with intricate scarification covering his arms, spoke rapidly to Zara in their melodic language. Even without understanding the words, Marcus could hear the anger and confusion in his voice. Zara rose to face them, her injured shoulder clearly causing her pain, but her posture proud and defiant. She responded to Keth's words with equal intensity, gesturing toward Marcus in ways that seemed protective rather than explanatory. They want to know why I have bonded with an enemy, she translated for Marcus. They think the pain of my injury made me lose reason. Keth stepped forward, his eyes fixed on Marcus with undisguised hostility. When he spoke again, his words were slow and deliberate, clearly meant for Marcus to hear, even if he could not understand them. He challenges the bonding, Zara explained, her voice tight with worry. He says I am not thinking clearly, that no Valeri would choose a human mate willingly. He offers to fight you to prove humans are weak, unworthy of our protection. Marcus stood slowly, acutely aware that he was outnumbered and outmatched. The Valeri were taller and stronger than humans, evolved on a world with higher gravity and more dangerous predators. In a direct fight, he would lose quickly. Tell him I accept, Marcus said quietly. Marcus, no, Zara protested. You cannot win against him in combat. He's one of our finest warriors. Then I will not fight him with strength, Marcus replied, his mind already working on alternatives. Tell him I choose the terms of the challenge. Keth's expression showed surprise when Zara translated, but he nodded agreement. It was apparently within Marcus's rights to set the conditions of a challenge to his bonding. Marcus studied the ancient ruins around them, noting how the symbols pulsed and shifted. An idea began to form. Tell him the challenge is not of strength, but of understanding. Whoever can make the symbols of the first ones respond to them wins the right to decide Zara's fate. The Valeri warriors exchanged uncertain glances. Clearly, this was not the type of challenge they had expected. But Keth nodded grimly, apparently confident in his connection to the old places. For an hour, Keth attempted to activate the ancient symbols through various methods, touching them, speaking to them in the old Valeri tongue, even using his own bioelectric field to try to stimulate them. Nothing worked. When it was Marcus's turn, he simply sat cross-legged before the largest symbol cluster and began to speak softly to Zara, telling her about Earth, about the blue skies and vast oceans, about the music his species made and the art they created. As he spoke, as his genuine affection for her colored his words, the symbols began to glow brighter and pulse in harmony with both their heartbeats. A new beginning defeat of Keth, and the challenge changed everything. Word spread quickly through the Valeri clans that a human had not only bonded with one of their own, but had proven himself worthy through the ancient tests. Within days, representatives from other clans began arriving at the ruins, drawn by curiosity about this unprecedented union. Zara's status among her people transformed from questioned warrior to something. Approaching a prophet, the bonding mark she had given Marcus was recognized as genuine and sacred, carrying implications that reached far beyond personal choice. According to Valeri law, a bonding could not be dissolved by outside force. To harm a bonded mate was to invite the wrath of the entire clan. As they waited for the clan elders to arrive for a formal gathering, Marcus and Zara found themselves in an impossible situation. Their growing feelings for each other were undeniable, but both knew that their relationship could mean treason to their respective peoples. On their final night alone in the ruins, they sat together under Zirian's 3 moons, watching the aurora-like phenomenon that painted the sky in shifting colors. Zara had fully healed from her injuries, but she stayed close to Marcus, their fingers intertwined. What happens now? Marcus asked, studying her profile in the moonlight. The elders will decide if our bonding is valid, she replied. If they accept it, it could change everything between our peoples. If they reject it, she did not finish the sentence. Marcus turned to face her fully. And what do you want to happen? Zara was quiet for a long moment, her luminous eyes reflecting the strange sky. I want to choose love over duty, she said. Finally, I want to believe that 2 people from different worlds can build something beautiful together. He leaned closer, and she met him halfway, their lips touching in a kiss that seemed to make the ancient symbols around them pulse brighter. It was soft and tentative at first, then deeper as they both surrendered to feelings that transcended species and politics when they broke apart. Zara pressed her forehead against his in the intimate gesture that had become familiar between them. Whatever the elders decide, she whispered, I am yours and you are mine. Nothing can change that. The next morning brought news that would alter the course of the war. The Elder Council, influenced by the unprecedented bonding and the ancient signs that had validated it, declared a ceasefire. Peace talks would begin, with Marcus and Zara serving as living proof that harmony between humans and Valeri was possible. As they stood together before the assembled representatives of both species, Marcus realized that their love had become something larger than themselves, a bridge between worlds, a hope for a future where difference was celebrated rather than feared. The touch that had bonded them had indeed changed everything.